So we have this idea of condition effects. We see it in role-playing board games, fantasy board games, dungeon-crawling board games. This idea of poison, paralysis, stun, knockdowns, where in addition to damage, your character now is affected by something that is going to decrease combat efficiency in the next couple of turns. And from a rules perspective and the narrative, I understand what is trying to happen with game design. This idea that you're trying to make monsters or encounters in a board game, which the miniature is a representation of, but really underneath that, it's just a set of rules interacting with dice. It's a construct. So we're looking to differentiate and make certain monsters closer to the narrative. The classic is just, a poisonous spider bites you. If you get hit, you're now going to have to deal with poison effects for a few turns. The challenge that I notice, and we see this in Gloomhaven, and I love Gloomy. It's just the first example that comes to mind because I've been putting in a lot of hours with Gloomhaven, and I'm probably a little bit more than halfway through on there. I mean, that's intense. Gloomhaven is definitely a game that you can buy and just literally play for the rest of your life on there. But there's a lot of condition effects that need to be tracked. And when you have a game with the complexity of Gloomhaven and the options in terms of the cards you're going to activate, various modifiers, positioning, the interaction of your teammates, whether you're playing solo or with a group, tremendous synergy there. But I find that these combat effects, when they're taken to extreme or when they're overly done, it can actually break the narration. It can actually slow down the game. And at least from my perspective, I really don't like it when I'm playing a game and I get hit by a few things and it's a few turns later and then I realize, wait, I was supposed to suffer a poison effect on there. Or, wait, what is this little token near me? Poison, I forgot it. I made my attack and I beat the monster when really I shouldn't have. I don't like going back and redoing. I want to play the game on the challenge level and on the difficulty as possible. So more and more I find, just my own personal taste, games that force me to deal with extra damage effects, to track them and to modify them, it becomes a little bit tedious on there. What's the solution? What's the solution? Because you want to make some monsters more challenging. You want to have them certainly have a unique personality. I would kind of like to see that just converted to damage. Where if it's like poison, okay, you're going to get hit, you're going to take 1d6 damage, and then +1 damage in addition to that for the poison effects on there. You can have the narrative, you can invoke the narrative, but try to keep that bookkeeping down to a minimum on there, because there's nothing worse than forgetting it on there and breaking that narrative. Your thoughts on that, and games that make use of these conditional effects on poison, paralysis, knockdown, stun, that do it really well, and games where I understand where they were going. A great example, Conan. I love Conan. It's great. But in one of the expansions, you're introduced to poison, and it's so themed because you're literally robbing tombs with spiders and scorpions. It's very much, the Mummy, Scorpion King, all that type of stuff. So it makes sense to introduce poison, but it is implemented so poorly and just such a tedious task to maintain. It ruins that expansion on there. So what are some expansions that good intentions, but not quite the best execution?